Hi, welcome back to my channel, Open the Door. This is episode 114. Are you just starting on your spiritual journey? Well, you can use the book, The Four Agreements, to help you cross that threshold and get a little further along. There's some great tips in this book. So I've referenced the book, The Four Agreements, a couple times in some of my past videos, and it's a book that I read early on in my healing journey. And I am strongly recommending it to you, whether you're just beginning on the spiritual path or not. This is a great book. These are 4 principles or agreements that we make with ourselves to help us be better humans to ourselves and out there in the world. So the title of the book, again, is called The Four Agreements, A Practical Guide to Personal Freedom is the full title. And it's written by a man named Don Miguel Ruiz. In 1977, he wrote this book. It's not a book of rules, but as I said, agreements that we make with ourselves to break cycles that are keeping us trapped. So the book teaches about personal transformation that's possible by challenging and rewriting the subconscious cycles or agreements that we've made with ourselves throughout our lives that may no longer hold true. This book is based on a code of conduct that's based on the Toltec wisdom. And I had never heard of Toltec before, but I, of course, looked it up because I always do my research. Toltec wisdom stems from the Mesoamerican culture that ruled central Mexico from the 10th to the 12th centuries. The word Toltec, by the way, it's spelled Toltec, means men and women of knowledge. And the emphasis in this series of wisdom and the Toltec wisdoms is an emphasis on self-awareness and empowerment. So these concepts are used, the concepts in the books, the Four Agreement, are used to break free of limited beliefs, help us to cultivate inner peace, and also build healthier relationships. So here's a breakdown of the 4 principles. Okay, the first one is be impeccable with your word. Words carry energy, and that energy can feel like medicine or poison depending on how we're using our words and our language. So speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Don't gossip or speak negatively of yourself or of others. Use words in the direction of truth and love, and the benefit of being impeccable with our words helps us build trust and respect with ourselves and with others. It reduces conflict and empowers our self-worth and self-awareness as well. So that's the first principle. The first agreement is be impeccable with your word. The second agreement is don't take anything personally. This was a hard one for me to get through, but I finally did, and I'm able to move through life mostly not taking things personally. I'm not perfect. I'm human too, but anyhow, moving on. Don't take anything personally. So avoid needless suffering by remembering that nothing others do is because of you. What they say or do is a projection of their own reality, their own thoughts, and their own emotions. And by grasping onto this truth and holding on tightly to it, it frees you from emotional traps and constant reactivity when we're realizing that people are coming from their own place of where they're standing in their reality. By not taking anything personally, this greatly promotes inner peace, it strengthens our resilience, and it encourages freedom. Okay, second. Now the third agreement is don't make assumptions. So find courage to ask questions and communicate clearly when you've got questions or you're tempted to make an assumption about another's thoughts, words, or behavior. So work on openly communicating with others in a loving way, but to be able to ask questions and communicate clearly and not just fall back on making assumptions through silence. Express what you really want to avoid, which is misunderstandings and drama. So by expressing what you're really hoping, what you want, what you need, then you're eliminating a lot of drama from your life. So don't make assumptions. Avoid inventing stories in your mind. Again, clearly communicate with others and ask questions to clarify what it is that you're needing to improve that communication. So Improved communication is what comes out of no longer making assumptions on others' thoughts and behaviors, other words. It enhances our relationships by cultivating open communication and reduces a whole lot of anxiety when we stop making assumptions about what we think others, what their motives are. And the fourth agreement or principle from this book is to always do your best. So, number one aspect of this always do your best is to understand and accept the fact that your best can change from day to day and even moment to moment. Doing your best doesn't mean perfection. It just means being committed fully to whatever it is that you're doing in the moment with your best ability in the moment. So it's never good to compare ourselves to others, but also don't compare yourself to how you may have felt yesterday or last week and the amount of work that you may have been able to get done, applying that to work. Accept your own limitations and avoid self-judgment. Instead, boost your self-compassion. And as I said, understand and remember that our levels of what our best is can change from day to day and even hour to hour. But what happens through this concept of always doing our best and accepting our own limitations, it can boost our self-esteem and it reduces the guilt and regret that we have by not getting certain things done, and always encouraging our growth. So the four principles, we all break them, and it happens kind of naturally in our everyday life and our interactions with others. So I'm going to go back through the four agreements and give you a couple examples of how we're breaking these agreements with ourselves and others in our daily life. So the first principle was be impeccable with your word. And the way that we break that is through negative self-talk, gossiping, lying, exaggerating, speaking harshly, and criticizing ourselves and others. The second principle was don't take things personally. So when we do take things personally, we internalize criticism, we take offense easily, and we're highly reactive. We're seeking external validation and believing that others' opinions determines our own self-worth. So that all has to do with when we do take things personally, these are the kind of things that result from that. The third principle is don't make any assumptions. And when we do make assumptions, we jump to conclusions and we assume we know what others are thinking and feeling. Also, overgeneralization results from making assumptions, and it avoids proper and clear communication due to fear or pride, and most definitely can lead to misunderstandings. And the fourth principle about always do your best, when we're not doing our best, it's going to involve things like procrastinating, laziness, or the opposite, overworking and pushing ourselves beyond our limits. And then self-judgment steps in, whether we're being lazy or overworking, and we're being too hard on ourselves. So never try to, as I said, judge yourself based on your energy level from last week or yesterday. And that will help us to avoid setting unrealistic expectations. So here's some real-world examples now of how these four agreements can be applied to real life. So being impeccable with our word. Here's the example. A colleague wants to sit and chat, and they're spreading gossip and rumors about another coworker. So for you to be able to be impeccable in your word, you may choose to speak positively about this person that they're speaking negatively about, or choose to not speak at all and just don't participate in the conversation. Here's another example about being impeccable with our word. A friend confides in you about a personal issue. And the way that you remain impeccable in that situation is you keep their confidence and you offer thoughtful, kind, and honest advice if that is what they're seeking. All right, so that all has to do with examples of being impeccable. The second principle, don't take anything personally. So here's an example. A stranger rudely cuts you off in traffic. It happens every day, right? So just remember that their behavior is about their stress and whatever they've been dealing with this particular day. Don't let it ruin your day. Another example to don't take things personally would be that a friend cancels plans at the last minute And for you to not take it personally, then don't assume that you're being rejected. Check in a little later with compassion with your friend, and give them the benefit of the doubt. Don't always assume the worst. That's our next principle. Don't assume. So we're not going to take anything personally, and we're also not going to make assumptions. Here's an example. You send a text message and you get no response. Maybe even 24 hours have passed and you've still not received a response. Well, we don't know what's going on in other people's lives and what's all involved. It could be something very serious. So again, don't make assumptions and assume that they're upset with you. Follow up with kindness, or just drop it and wait until the next time you see that person to find out the reason why. Or maybe you'll never know the reason why, and that's okay. Here's another example of not making assumptions. Your boss is very tense during a meeting. Well, don't make the assumption that you're in some kind of trouble, and don't assume that they're unhappy with your work, but maybe ask for feedback or clarification. If this tenseness of your boss seems to be directed at you, then take some private time for a conversation with them after the meeting, but don't sit through the meeting making assumptions that you've done something wrong. The fourth principle of always do your best. So here's the example. You're working on a project, but you're really feeling tired and burned out. Remember that doing your best does not equal perfection. So do your best based on your energy level in that moment, or on that day, or for those few hours. And then take breaks when you need to. That can mean doing what's best for you also, or doing your best. Allowing yourself to rest and take a break. So to close this episode today about the 4 agreements, I just want you to know that each of these things, it's all about progress and not about perfection. And just becoming aware of these aspects, these 4 agreements, these 4 principles that we can begin to live by, can start to make a turn in our thoughts and behaviors, and bring us farther along on our healing journey. Human nature is sometimes contradictory to these principles, and it can be a challenge. And so it's a practice. It's not a button that we can just switch, that we can flip on and off. So if you're one of my subscribers who happens to use a journal, then it would be good to write these 4 agreements down. And if you don't keep a journal, write them down anyway and stick it on your fridge or in the bathroom mirror, somewhere where you'll have a reminder often to take these 4 things into consideration. This is our episode for today, and I hope you're doing well. I'll be back very soon. In the meantime, take good care of yourselves. I wish you peace, love, and light. And I'll see you soon. That's it for now. Bye.